Okay, and first, welcome to all commission members. Welcome to our different town department heads and to all of our guest presenters. First, I'd like to just start with a quick roll call for the commission members. We know Rana is out. I'm here, obviously. Gene Goodman. Okay. Jake Granito, we know, is here. Or just say present, I should say.
Present.
Yeah. Hank Green.
Present.
Steve Haberstroff.
Present.
Jack Hawkins.
Present.
Great. We know Matthew's not here. Carl Mason.
Present.
Keith Ritchie.
Present.
Francesca.
Present.
Great. Okay. So with that, we will commence. We have a very packed agenda tonight with a lot of presenters and a lot of things that we need to make motions on. I would just need to respectfully ask it if everybody can keep. Get back in the background. Could keep everything as concise as possible. That would be terrific. Otherwise, we're going to be here for a very long time tonight. So in any case, the first order of business is to approve the minutes from the January 12th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right. Thank you, Carl. Seconded by Francesca. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed?
Jake Granito's in favor.
Great. Thanks, Jake. And there's Gene. Hey, Gene, how are you?
Okay, thank you.
Good. So minutes approved. Next order of business is caffeine and carburetors. With Doug. Doug, go right ahead. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you again for the invitation for tonight. I'm here to just request the usage of the park on Sunday, October 23rd. I have signed the contract. Tucker's in possession of that. I've given her the check requested, and that's why I'm here.
Okay. Doug, thank you. Yes, I'm aware of the letter being signed, which we very much appreciate. I think this is a terrific event that everybody looks forward to. Are there any questions or comments from commission members?
Jack Hawkins here.
Hey, Jack.
Yeah, John, just making sure there's no conflicts, right? John, how?
There's no conflicts as far as the schedule. That's correct.
Good to go. All right.
Right. Is there any other questions or comments? Okay. With that, could somebody make a motion to approve this event for October 23rd? Francesca, thank you.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second it. Jake, thank you. All those in favor, raise their right hand. Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. Doug, we wish you the best of luck with this event. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. No
Have a
problem.
good night now.
You too. Next on the list is the Irwin Park Master Plan. I have down Diana Ferguson, but is there somebody else who's presenting?
Hi, this is Debbie Simpson, a co-president of the Garden Club. Diane is supposed to be here this evening and presenting, and so we are texting to make sure everything is okay. Would you mind bumping us down a bit on the agenda so that we can get back to that and find out if everything's okay with them?
Certainly, no problem.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much. Thank you.
So we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the New Canaan Athletic Foundation, Mike Benevento.
That was about the best news that I've heard all night. So Tiger knows my ailment sitting long behind these agendas. So thank you very much for the invitation. I'm going to be brief in my presentation. I gave a presentation to the Board of Finance and also to the Town Council, just going over some of our activity at the Athletic Foundation over the past year. As you know, as part of our public-private partnership with the town, we have a memorandum, an MOU with the town where we collect player usage fees for all of the sports, the youth sports and recreation sports that are in town for the fall and spring seasons. As part of that, we funnel the money right back into the town. 50% of it goes to a turf replacement account that's held at the Canaan Community Foundation. 50% is put into the an enhancements account for future projects, also held at the Canaan Community Foundation. So just to give you a sense, this year in the spring, we did, there were roughly 21, almost 2,200 athletes at $25 a piece. And we did roughly $54,250 in player usage fees. And in the fall, there were roughly 1,585 athletes for a total of $39,575. That total is $93,825. That will be, again, 50% into a turf replacement account and 50% into an enhancements account. The other thing that the Athletic Foundation does over the summer, as you know, as part of the Triple P, we run the fields from June 15th to August 15th as part of an enterprise zone. And, you know, when we started this in 2019, our goal was to kind of crawl, walk, and then run. And to give you a sense of where we were in 2019, we did $30,975 in revenues, gross revenues. In the summer of 2020, the COVID summer, we did almost $67,095 in gross revenues. This year, we ran a couple of lacrosse tournaments, a number of practices, Monday Night Lights for youth football, Trip It and Rip It for the high school football, and gross revenues were up 22% to $81,675. So I would tell you all of the credit for this goes to Bobby Rushton. He runs the enterprise zone in the summer. He's done a phenomenal job in coordination and with a lot of help and support from John Howe and Steve and Jay, and we're very appreciative of everything, because as it was laid out, you know, 3 years ago, coming off of 2016, the plan is really starting to execute exactly as we wanted it. So that's the update on the activities over the past year. I would tell you, we're also in the midst of the early parts of another capital campaign. You know, on the silent case, we have roughly $500,000 raised in the enhancements account, going towards the execution of our master plan, which we've laid out in the past. But the two main projects that we're looking to get done in the near term are the renovation of Dunning Stadium's press box and the outside of Dunning Stadium, and then also the varsity baseball field, which we're looking to do up on Campo Field. So I don't think in our discussions, and Tiger's been involved in some of these, it's not likely that we'll be able to get something done, shovels in the ground this summer, but we are looking to do something in the summer of 2023. And I think we're working towards those plans and design plans. I know that James Dunning, who's the head of the master plan subcommittee on my board, has some surveyors coming out, I think, Tiger, the week of school break in February. So we're moving along in our plans for design work, and obviously our plans for raising capital. So that's as brief as I can be. Happy to answer any questions, but that's my update.
Thank you, Mike. That was great. Are there any questions from different commission members? Steve?
Thanks, Mike. Good to see you.
Hey, Steve.
Will you be holding the fundraiser this year? What are
I'm
the
sorry.
plans?
Yes, Tucker was in contact with me. As you know, our annual fundraiser is Field Fest. It's always supposed to be held the Saturday after Labor Day weekend. The past few years, it was canceled because of COVID. This past year, we were well on our way in terms of planning, and unfortunately, it was postponed late in the day. But yes, we are planning on holding Field Fest on September 10th, and I believe that Tucker's had that date reserved, and we would do that again on Capo Field with your approval.
Do we need to have that approved as a motion, Mike? Where's this event at? What field? Where?
Held on Capo.
Couple field, okay.
I'm happy to ask for a motion if we want to do that now, because I know we're in the early parts of planning it. You know, we've done it before, so it's kind of, you know, it's easier to do this time around, but I'm happy to ask to have that date reserved. As I said, I know that Tucker's got it in her town calendar, so
Right.
I'm happy to ask for it though.
Okay, John, do you see any issues with that, or do we need to?
Don't see any issues. I just don't know if there's any like weddings or anything like that on the calendar.
Okay,
I would tell you that I know that we ran into this issue the first year that we did it, and there was actually a wedding at the house. And part of what we did, because it was so far removed and had the stage facing towards the high school, that was how we ended up mitigating it. So we've done it in the past where there was a wedding at the house.
B, do you have a,
I don't have a gut feel right now. I'd have to take a look at the calendar and get back to you to see what we have on that date. I have given the calendars to Tucker, so if she's tentatively put you on the calendar, she may have already checked with me. But I can certainly check on that if you wanted to make a motion pending a clear date.
we can do that, or Steve, go ahead.
I was going to make that motion, but I'll defer to you, George.
I'm happy to do a motion pending approval of the final date. To do that, or do you think we should wait till the March meeting to make, once we solidify the date for certain, like we did with caffeine and carburetors? John, what's your take on that?
If you wait till March and formally do it, if you wanted to, you could get a feeling for it, but I have a feeling it went very well in the past. So I don't see any problems from my point of view.
Right.
But then you can make sure, because I believe the wedding started and finished before the music started, but I'm not positive on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Steve, you were about to go ahead. If you want to follow through with a motion, that's fine with us right now. We'll just obviously contingent of confirming the date, but if you want to go ahead and make that motion, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the date pending the wedding schedule.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll
Jack,
second.
thank you. Thanks, Jack. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Mike, great work, and really appreciate the fantastic work that your group does. It's a great public-private concern.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for the invitation to come. I appreciate it.
Problem. Thank you. Okay. We will go back to Irwin Park. I see Diana has joined us with Judy Neville and somebody I don't know.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that we will be looking at 2 pages in particular of the master plan, 29 and 33. I know that you all have a copy of it, and it's also on the minutes on the website. Just wanted to give you a heads up there so that you can locate those pages. My name is Diana Ferguson, co-chair of the Irwin Park Committee, which is part of the New Canaan Garden Club. With me tonight are Judy Neville, treasurer of Irwin Park, and Donna Howard, my co-chair. We are joined virtually by Deborah Gordon, our newest co-chair, and our 2 co-presidents of the Garden Club, Debbie Simpson and Karen Murray. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to present to you tonight. For over 100 years, the Garden Club has engaged in many public-private partnerships with the town. In 1995, we began one of our long-standing partnerships, the extensive research, design, and fundraising effort to restore the walled garden in Waveney Park. We collaborated with the Waveney Park Conservancy in the restoration of the parterre garden and continue to maintain the gardens at Waveney. Members volunteer over 2,000 hours a year to civic projects benefiting our town and its residents. In addition to the many hours spent planning and coordinating our efforts, our members also continue our program at Waveney Care Center and the Historical Society. Over the past 15 years, one of the most significant undertakings of the Garden Club is the continued beautification of Irwin Park. We have planted 50,000 daffodils and over 40 trees in the park. We've installed an award-winning children's maze and a gazebo. As part of our very popular 3-year goat project, we have endeavored to eradicate Japanese knotweed and other highly invasive species from the western side of the park. The town has installed close to a mile of flexi-paved trails thanks to generous contributions from the community of nearly $500,000. We completed the final loop of the trails in 2019 following a successful fundraising effort by the Irwin Park Committee. To date, the Irwin Park Committee has received no direct funding from the town for capital improvements. The Irwin Park Committee completed an extensive search and retained Stimson landscape architects from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to work in collaboration with the Garden Club to prepare a long-range plan. They were subsequently recognized with the 2021 Landscape Architecture Firm Award from the American Society of Landscape Architects. We held several planning sessions since last spring, which focused on creating a sustainable vision for Irwin Park. Our goal was to create a comprehensive and cohesive master plan that would provide a roadmap for the future. We are pleased to share our completed master plan with the Parks and Recreation Commission. Our focus tonight is on 2 priorities that the Irwin Committee would like the Commission's approval to move forward. In our handout on page 33 is a proposed schematic design for a boardwalk approximately 900 feet in length, 8 feet wide through the wooded western edge of the park. It would conform to the contours of the property and be composed of a combination of crushed stone and locust wood. We have added a lookout observatory to enhance the experience and allow for children and adults to have more quality time in nature. The plan meets all setback requirements and is ADA compliant. The establishment of the boardwalk through Irwin Park would further enhance the town's Green Link Trail, connecting Irwin Park to other land trust properties, along with the Nature Center and New Canaan parks. The biodiversity and ecological health in this area lends itself to a vast oasis of birds, butterflies, insects, frogs, and other wetland species. By providing more trails with varied experiences, we believe it will enormously enhance the quiet pleasure of being in the park. We can all agree that during the recent pandemic, the importance of open space was amplified worldwide. Recent scientific studies conclude that spending more time in green spaces significantly boosts or improves mental and physical health during these stressful and uncertain times. Our other priority is to take advantage of the hillside west of the Gores Pavilion as a natural location for informal gatherings, lectures, or small groups of classes. A grassy path would connect the lower part of the seating with the flexi-paved path to the north and the Irwin House to the south. As you can see in the picture on page 29 of the master plan, the Hillside Terrace will provide flowing grassy seating for many daytime activities. The library successfully used the park as an outdoor venue for their many children's programs during COVID. The boardwalk is our only request for funding of a capital item by the town. All of our beautification projects have been funded by the Garden Club through the endowment and generous contributions of our members and the community. Irwin Park has grown in popularity and continues to see an increase in visitors in all seasons. We respectfully ask for your endorsement in concept for these very worthy projects. This concludes our formal presentation. We're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you for having us.
Are there any questions from the commission members?
Just one.
Francesca?
The location of this boardwalk, am I right in remembering that it's where the goats were eating?
No, it's beyond that. If you keep walking beyond the goat area, you'll come to it.
Okay.
It drops off.
It's the corner of the park.
Yeah.
Sort of on your way to where the bench is up there, there's a very large area that is all wetlands, and the boardwalk would circle around and connect on two sides with the flexi pave. You can see there, you can even, I don't know if you can enlarge that, but
What's that?
there's
number?
also a
Yeah, it's right. Yeah.
lookout.
What's that number?
Let's see.
Number
There
15.
it is. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
I
There
can't
you go.
read it.
And that's the observation lookout where there's a
Point.
large.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, okay, okay.
But it encircles that entire area. It's 900 linear feet and it, of course, as we said, 8 feet wide. So it's all encompassing, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack, did you have a question, or Hank? I think it was Hank.
We're both bald, George. It's hard to tell the difference between the two of us. But I just want to ask, outside of this committee, has the town given approval to pursue a project on the wetlands?
You are the beginning. This is in concept. It would go to conservation. It'd probably have to go to park and zoning, I would think, and Tiger can weigh in, but I would think all town committees would have to review it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have you had any, oh, thanks. Is there any, I have a couple questions, but is there any other questions? Carl?
Sure. That area down there, as I've seen it from the park, is rather overgrown. I can't really get much of a sense as to what the wetlands are like down there. I assume there's an awful lot of work that would have to be done to clear that area. Do you have a sense for what sort of project that would entail? Is that a multi-year project like we had with the goats in the other area, or can that be cleared a little bit more easily than that?
Well, some of it is debris. There's a number of just dead trees, and you wouldn't take everything out. That's not the objective. It's, it's not to be manicured. It's supposed to be wetlands and open space, and kids can, look at all the salamanders and the frogs and stuff as they go by, or stop and, just relax and sit and have time out for families.
Got you. Oh, go ahead, Keith.
You're really circling the wetlands, aren't you?
Yes.
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 And we wouldn't approach on that.
Yeah.
Right.
One advantage is that there's an area on the existing path that tends to get kind of snow and ice. And this would actually provide you a way to get around that, which
If
I
you
think
can-
would be an advantage.
You're right about that.
Yeah,
I
It's
was
very
there
true.
today. It's very icy down there.
Yeah.
And as you recall, when we purchased Irwin Park and we put in the flexi pave, we all agreed as town bodies that we would not, clear it for the winter or make it, available year round. It would be weather dependent. And that would be the same case with this. But some of it depends also on how much is boardwalk and how much is stone dust or whatever other material. We're looking at a number of materials. So, yeah, but certainly the locust wood would be the easiest part to navigate. Yeah.
Right. I had a couple of questions. Do you have a ballpark idea what this is going to cost? And I'm not going to hold you to a firm number, just you had to ballpark it.
Probably between 350 and 400 and maybe 38,000, depending upon how much locust wood we used and how much stone. And we can expand, or we could move the observation deck. The larger, the better. We've got it sort of where we think is the best lookout point. But this is all dependent on what conservation would say too.
Correct. There's also obviously a number of neighbors adjacent to the property. You obviously will consult with them, I would assume, as well.
I would assume there'd also be public hearing from the
Public hearings, yeah, okay.
Usually, well, that's what we've done always before. Matter of fact, with Irwin, there were so many, I can't even remember
Yeah.
the number. So yeah, I would expect the people we have talked to are very supportive. They love the idea. You never know. It's New
Right.
Canaan. We're all familiar with this.
Yes. And then when the town bought Irwin Park, and Judy, I think you were first select person at the time. Was there any covenants in the agreement that said we could or couldn't do something? I remember something had to be passive recreation versus active recreation. I remember going to a couple of the hearings. Is there any issues there that you foresee?
Oh, no, it's totally passive recreation. Both items are.
Okay,
Yeah, this is not going to go, through the night. There's not going to be any bands or loud music playing. This is for families to just quiet, enjoy the
okay.
park.
Gotcha. Okay. Tiger and John, any comments or questions from you all?
You want me to go first? You want me first?
Yeah, go ahead.
We've been working with the Garden Club on this portion of their master plan for quite some time, or these two portions of the master plan for quite some time. Hank, can answer your question. It will have to go to the Wetland Commission for approval. As Judy mentioned, right now it's 900 feet in length, but in speaking to the designer, we think that length of boardwalk can be lessened and there'll be more just trail surface. So on the ground or surface trail, and then lead to a boardwalk and the observation deck. We're in favor of it. And the other project in the back, the seating area should look really nice. So we're in favor of both. I did not put it in my capital budget this year, but going to the Board of Finance next week, I should say in John's capital budget, is on the overall DPW. But we are going to the Board of Finance next week, and we will mention these projects and see if we can get them added to the budget. See what their the palette is at that point in time.
Okay.
For that expenditure.
Right. John, any comments on your end?
I just think it would be a great addition to that one section of the park. Originally, we were going to try to cut a trail through there, but of course it's all wetlands, so we weren't able to go through there. So I think it would be a beautiful addition.
Right. Great. Keith, you had a question? You're on mute.
The observation deck, how high off the ground is that?
We expect that whole area to follow the contours of the property. We hope the whole thing can, just flow with the curves and the flowscape and the height. But that will be probably stone dust going into it, and that would be very flat.
Okay, so like ground level. We're not talking about anything. We're not talking about anything like in the nature center that has the things that are like 1 story high. Okay.
We're trying to keep everything actually below what would trip the requirement for a railing.
Yes.
That's actually 30 inches above the ground. So at 30 inches, then we run into the point where we need a safety rail. Anything less than that, we wouldn't. So we're trying to be basically at ground level. And in order to traverse the wetland, it might just be just above the water height at that point.
That sounds great.
It's also more secure for anyone who has a disability or has problems,
It's safer, safer
for
and
everyone.
less expensive to have it as low as possible. And we want to minimize the amount of wood. We want to put that structure in, and the rest of it can be, stone dust or gravel.
Locust wood
Reduce the
actually
cost.
has a longer life than cedar, and it's I think $5 more a linear foot, but we think it's worth it. We would like to see that be used.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from commission members before we move for a motion? And if I'm not mistaken, you're looking for approval from both the boardwalk as well as the Hillside Terrace. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay, correct. Keith?
Yeah, George, I wanted to hear a little bit more about the Hillside Terrace. I mean, you've got some photos, and there's quite different sorts of ideas there. One is kind of like a Roman amphitheater, and one is terraces. And then you have your main photo on page 30. And it's 30 is what you're after, right?
No, if you go to the far right, which we call, no, go back a page or up. Yeah, go to the middle one and the one on the far right are the same private garden. And obviously we're not going to pay for granite steps. This is just flowing. We hope it's
Grassy area.
Yeah, it's a grassy area. It's probably about a 3.5 foot drop, and then 9 feet flat, 3.5 foot drop, and it's a 30 foot scale. So 4 to 5, and it's just to sort of hang out, have classes, you know, it's been used. It's a beautiful way to finish what is now nothing but weeds, and it's just sort of been there forever. Yeah.
So what are you envisioning at the bottom here where they're showing the fountain on these photos?
Yeah, we're not envisioning anything. You're
That
gonna,
was Stimson's conception.
yeah.
And our idea is to cut that back quite a bit. That's why we included these photographs and make it more grassy as opposed to stone walls and more architectural.
It would go down to the flexi pave, which runs
Yeah.
parallel to the.
It would be a great venue also for people, kids that needed outdoor classrooms. The library held a lot of their classes at Irwin Park. This would provide additional seating, picnic area, an area where, you bring kids to sit down. One of the things that people really, really are asking for at Irwin Park is more seating. And this would be a very nice place to do that.
Yeah, but you're kind of removing the natural grasses, you're putting in, grasses that will now have to be mowed. I guess people don't sit on their lawns very often, and if they do, they get wet pants pretty quickly. So when you talk about seeding, I'm a little confused. You really think people are going to be sitting on the lawn here?
Yeah.
Like
we
a
do.
picnic.
Yeah, they'll bring
Yeah.
a blanket,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And they did, people do picnic at Irwin all the time. I live there, I walk there, and they do classes, and
We would supply more benches too, probably at the base as well. And halfway down.
Hello?
Yeah, I guess I personally see the boardwalk as fine, but this is a little problematic for me.
Earl, do you have?
Yeah, I wonder, there's, that area we have there with the long grasses, are we going to be encroaching or taking much of that? And that's a fantastic area. And one of the wonderful things I've seen many times walking around the park is an owl going in and swooping in and taking out mice in that area. It's really wonderful to behold. And I think it would be a great loss to Irwin to lose that sense of just wilderness we have back there. There's an awful lot of manicured lawns towards the front of the park that are actually not particularly being used at the moment, since it was deemed that they not be used as ball fields. I just wonder whether we really want to be adding more of a manicured lawn area to the park.
It is, it's not the whole area. I'm sorry if we have not explained that well. It's a drop off behind the garage and over and down. And yeah, they recently did the, in Washington, D.C., they did an area out by the Lincoln Memorial, and they did very similar, and it's being overly used, if anything. So it's a nice concept. And again, it's not the whole grassy area, and it's not huge maintenance. And we did pay $90,000 a few years ago for a mower that can do these kinds of hills. So that's not an added expense either.
So it's in spot 11? It's 11, between 11 and 12?
It's between there.
It's 11.
Yeah, it's 11.
If you had to define how much space it is, like, is it 1,000 feet that we're going to be, I guess, turning into sort of from a field to kind of a more of a manicured grass? I mean, how much space are we talking about?
We have a proposal for laying out the schematic design, and of course, we would come back to you for approval for that.
Okay.
So we can alter that depending upon how you want it to end up. But I would say it has to be a decent size in order to make a difference.
Okay. And what is your timeline on this Hillside Terrace? When would you ideally like to start that project?
By the end of the spring, summer.
Okay.
We can do a schematic design pretty quickly. We've already laid out all the parameters, and the garden club is prepared to move ahead with that.
Okay. And question for you. If we were to tackle the boardwalk tonight, okay? If you guys want to come back to us with more of a schematic design at our March meeting, would that be acceptable? Just so that, given a couple of questions that have been raised, would you like to have both projects voted on tonight?
We would prefer both projects in concept voted on because there is it's a significant cost to the proposal that we've received. So yeah, in order to spend the money, we would like to know that you're, supporting it.
Right, understand. Okay,
Can I
Francesca?
ask, you said that it would be around the pinpoint mark 11. How close to 10 does it get?
Where's the,
Can we,
can we see it again? I'm not sure what 10 was, if that was the, yeah. all
10
right.
is heading down to the flexi pad.
So here's.
10 is actually a grass walkway. It's not the flexi pave. The flexi pave is down in the gray. So it's
All
further
right,
down the hill.
so this hillside would only be down to the grassy path. Is that what you're saying, John?
By their diagram, it goes down only to the first grassy path, which
Right.
neither one of those are even there right now.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's on the side hill, and the only thing that I see nearby there is the septic system for Gore's Pavilion sits out there.
Uh-huh.
But by this diagram, it looks like it's out of the way.
And it's,
Yeah.
and it definitely meets with the restrictions that we put through when we got the preservation grant for Gore's. So it doesn't infringe upon any of that back space or the 50 feet out or 40 feet out.
Yeah.
So it's all.
And I'm just trying to consider, it doesn't look like you're asking for a gigantic amount of space here.
No, it isn't.
No,
Yeah.
no,
It's
it's
very,
not.
Is it
Okay.
really just between where the walkway already is to the right of number 11 and up toward the hillside toward where you get like halfway to number 12?
Yeah,
That's
That's
correct.
really just that area.
It's a very
Yes.
small.
it's a small
Part.
area.
Okay, so that is much less than I was thinking it was.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a big spot.
It's much less, and the rest of it's all going to maintain, be those long grasses and,
Yeah.
pollinator pathway. It's really not that big of a area that we're asking for.
And it'll be
I think
flanked on both,
It'll be flanked, yeah.
flanked on both sides with grassy areas.
Trees,
And where the goats were, that's all still going to be open and
yes.
planted.
Yeah, that's a 3-year project that hopefully is completed, but there's a number of plugs and other, grasses and whatnot going in there.
Do you
That's
know how
another-
many trees you'll have to take down?
I think most of them are dead.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to be removing good
No.
trees. Matter of fact, we try very hard not to. I mean, there's
It's
just.
kind of grassy now.
There's not trees there. There's that one beautiful oak. That's not.
Yeah, we would
involved.
design it so we
Yeah.
don't
Take down trees.
take down anything that's healthy and beautiful and living.
We've added over,
40 trees.
40 plus trees. So we don't take out unless they're dead. We
Yeah.
want, yeah.
We love the trees.
Right.
We want more of them.
yeah.
Okay.
The
Thank
path
you.
that's going next to number 11, there's no path there currently, is there?
What
Can
was
you
the
put-
question?
The path that's between number 11 and 12 in the plan, I think below the terracing, there's no path there currently, is there?
No.
No,
That's a
No.
new path. Yep,
It could be a mown path.
right.
Ah,
So the terracing would be to the right-hand side of that path as we're looking at
To
it.
the east.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Are there any other questions from commission members or Steve? You're on
Yeah,
mute.
this is for John. Would that be easy enough to get access to mowers, and would it add a significant cost to your budget or anything?
It probably won't be significant. The only problem we'd run into if the slopes were too steep between the terraces, that we could not do it with our normal ride-on equipment. If it became all hand mowing, yes, it would definitely be significant, but I think what they're designing, we'll be able to mow with our standard equipment we take up there.
No, we don't want any hand mowing.
No, we'll make
No.
sure that we design it so there's no hand mowing.
We're just
Yeah,
grateful to be
yes.
mowed at all,
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
No.
And we can control that with the schematic. We can tell them exactly what we want and make sure that it works with what works for you.
Great,
Perfect.
great. Are there any other questions or comments?
Hmm.
All right, could we have a motion to approve the boardwalk and the Hillside Terrace from somebody?
I'll move to approve the boardwalk and the Hillside Terrace.
Thank you, Keith. Is there a second? Thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Carl. All those in favor, raise the right hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Great work, great presentation. We love the work that the Garden Club has done with all the different parks in town. You guys are phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
so much,
having us.
George.
Yeah.
Thank you. for
Thank you.
allowing us
That's
to
great.
Present
No problem.
again.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next item. Mr. Flynn has the floor. He's going to be doing two updates, one with the Nature Center and a Boy Scouts update. So Bill, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, John, for screen. You can all see my presentation.
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to keep it brief. Every year I'm invited to present at Parks and Rec. Last year I presented on a new land management plan. This year I'm going to do an overall update on the Nature Center, how we've gotten through COVID, and then also update on what we've been doing in our land management plan. So I was going to bore you with a lot of history. I'll keep that more to a minimum. I always like to bring up why the New Canaan Nature Center Association and how the town of New Canaan came to be partners. And when Susan Dwight Bliss, which is Nature Center is known as Bliss Park, she donated all her land to the town for purposes of a nature center, arboretum, bird sanctuary, passive recreation related purposes, or a museum site. And that's how the deed was restricted. And that in 1959 and 1960, the town went into agreement with our organization to be the designated agent of the park to fulfill that deed. And so we've been doing that ever since. And the governing documents of that agreement there was a letter in 1960 that was drafted. It was just about a 1.5-page letter designating us the agent, and that we would provide the programming for the benefit of the people of New Canaan. In 1970, they updated that letter just with a few more details as to what town would provide as far as services and or monies in their budget, and what the New Canaan Nature Center would be responsible for. So if you haven't read those are important to understanding the agreement between the Nature Center and the town. So in 1967, early on, we started two of our biggest programs, the preschool and the summer camp. Moving on to a few of the extra buildings that came in that are the Nature Center today. We built our greenhouse, newer greenhouse in 1982, then our visitor center in 1999. And every time we build a building, we raise the funds for it, and then we immediately gift it back to the town. So the town does own all the buildings, all the grounds. Nature Center Association owns, the computers and the stuff inside. So that's real basic how the Nature Center and the town coexist. The town Public Works does, they do mow the lawns. John and his crew, if we have yellow jacket nests next to trails, they'll come out and take care of those. Help us out with some snow removal on paths when we need it. And the highway department takes care of the plowing. So most of the natural areas, we manage the trails and take care of it. And then if we need help, we call on Public Works and Tiger and John, and they're very helpful when we need it. So that's the general arrangement between the town and the Nature Center Association. I was asked to update just on the budget and how we fared during COVID. I did send out sort of a 2-page document, a Word document. Did everyone receive that before tonight? Thumbs up. I can't see everybody because I'm sharing a screen. Yeah, okay. So the The overall budget looks pretty similar year to year. You'll notice that our preschool is our biggest program. This particular breakout this year, the grants and the donations and grants is a little larger because of our PPP loan forgiveness. And once that hit, it shows up as a grant on our profit and loss. So usually our donations and grants hovers in between 10 and 15% of our budget. This year being 24 due to that $232,000 grant we received that, we will not be receiving, I don't think, again, from the federal government. And usually our preschool summer camp, our two biggest programs, make up about 75%. This year it's only about 60. We were not able to run some of our bigger fundraisers during COVID. We were able to run our luncheon last year, which was very important for us, but we weren't able to run Fall Fair. 2 years ago, we ran it this fall, and our holiday market and our Harvest Fest. So we were able to do it this fall, but that's not reflective in this fiscal year. Our fiscal year ends June 30th. So that's up until then. If you'll notice that little sliver of environmental education, that's really what hurt us the most. We're not able to go out to schools or have field trips here. So that number was very, very small. It's obviously a huge part of our mission, but we were not able to run those during COVID. So the overall revenue year to year was down about 130,000 into a normal year, but that PPP loan forgiveness really put us back up into the black, which was a great thing. And just throughout the whole process, we did not have to let anyone go, and we kept everyone on payroll, which was our biggest, we were happiest about that. Just moving on to our different programs. As I said, our preschool is our largest program and very high mission driven. Our claim to fame is we are the first nature-based preschool in the country. We're very proud of that. Nature-based early childhood education is booming right now. It's the highest form of or fastest growing form of early childhood. And we were the first to do it. And we are looked to nationally and regionally to give direction on how best practices for it. I was also asked to give sort of the numbers of New Canaan versus out of New Canaan. Our preschool is about 90% New Canaan this year, 10% out, and our that hovers anywhere between 80 and 90. We don't give priority necessarily, but it always works out that mostly New Canaan families are the ones applying. Summer camp, our next biggest program, over 800 campers every summer, also established around 1967. And same thing, it hovers between 80 and 85% New Canaan families. We have a little bit more out of town participation in our summer camp. Moving on to our environmental education. This was what we missed a lot. We did a lot of virtual programming, but it's just not the same. So when the schools shut down virtually, we got together with the science coordinator and we had educators. So we just took lessons that they were doing and made videos and participated in their virtual learning, which was fun. And our educators were able to still, keep in practice, but we'd rather be in person. That bucket there, it is maple syrup season. If you got any maple trees in your yard, now is the time to tap. If you have any questions, just let us know. We can help you out. Some of our outreach that we're most proud of that we're going to bring back this spring. This is just an example of programs that we do a lot of fundraising through family foundations to deliver outside into Title I schools. It's a program in Norwalk that we run called the Haley Project, which is a watershed ecology program. We raise the money so the schools don't have to pay for it. We bus the kids up to the nature center. They learn pond and stream ecology up here, and then we meet them down in Long Island Sound. And that picture is a picture of students in waders that we put them in and seine nets, and they learn, what they're swimming in all summer. And it's amazing when they see pipefish and horseshoe crabs, and they're blown away that they're swimming with all that. So that's a really neat project that we'll be able to get back to now that COVID's gone. New York Public Libraries will pick up again. We weren't able to go into the libraries for 2 years. We go to the Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and do programs throughout that library system. That is a picture of me back when I was an educator. That's a small falcon on my hand, American kestrel. And just to illustrate some of our broader reach that we do. New York Botanical Gardens, we're one of the few offsite locations where you can take New York Botanical Gardens courses. And in the spring catalog, we are included again, so we're happy to bring those back. Our community programs were just from the park use, and our community programs were really, really high during COVID. A lot of people wanted to participate, but only wanted to do it outside. So all of our events were done outside, and we were able to have a lot of all our family events and just limited numbers. So, example of, we had Santa outside so people could actually take pictures with Santa without masks on. That was a big plus for people. Most COVID Christmas pictures of Santa were masked, and ours was not. So having our community programs was feedback from the town that was a very important thing for people to have a little sense of normalcy. Our bigger fundraisers, we were not able to, we basically missed one of all of our major fundraisers. So again, PPP loan forgiveness was a very big, very, very big for us to fill that gap. Just as you know, we have our animal collection that live at the Nature Center. Every animal that lives there is a permanent home. We're not wildlife rehabbers. We don't have rehabbing license. So this is the final home if they can't be released, or pets people can't take care of anymore. Usually the story is, parents bought their kid a turtle when they were 8, and then they didn't realize the turtle lives for 80 years. So parents don't want to take care of it anymore. So they come to the Nature Center and say, please take the turtle. And we have a lot of turtles. It's the most popular. Moving on to the land management plan. I presented on this last year. It was created by Larry Weiner Associates. The 3 biggest goals of that plan was to preserve our natural habitats, but being a public park, we wanted it to increase the experience from casual walkers and dog walkers and people just using the park as a park, and also support our program, so preschool, environmental education, and summer camp. So it's a really unique plan that takes all those and supports all of them. Most of what we've been doing over the last few years is really removing a lot of the junk that was piled up over the years. It's not to remove all brush piles, which are important. This is just old fallen trees that were cut up into rounds that were still there. Fallen trees that were overtaken with vines that just blocked, views, but didn't really serve much purpose. So we've been removing a lot of stuff. Another way that the Public Works helps us out is if we need a dumpster, to remove, because of fallen trees, or to remove some of the stuff, we'll ask, and John will drop one off, and then, bring it back if we need to fill it up again. So we do have a full-time grounds and facilities director who does a lot of the grounds work here. And again, if we just can't tackle it, then we'll talk to Public Works. Just from that last boardwalk talk, we replaced all of our wetland boardwalks through the middle of our property. If you ever need advice, we just did this whole process with the wetlands, and we learned a lot about it, but we were able to replace all those, which just in support of the Irwin plan, it really does add, we're able to access those areas and really get in and see what that habitat represents. So definitely supportive of that. Not that you needed my support, but I do support it. And another just ongoing, we're really hoping to have a maintenance budget for Larry Weiner Associates. The first, what we hired him for was a planning, and now we really want their expertise to implement. They're really good at taking fields that are filled with junk, getting the bad stuff out, replacing it with the natives, and really hoping to catalog all of the species that we're able to bring back and show why it's important to get rid of your invasives and bring back natives. And the other big thing is just the aesthetics. There are creeks you couldn't see before that we've opened up, and just the overall look. We think we've made a lot of good strides in the last few years. Just a couple of pictures. Our North Field, just for mowing schedules, a lot of goldenrod is able to come back. As you can see in this picture, still a lot of grapevine and mugwort, but we're working on it. We have a really bad Phragmites in the middle, but it's so wet that we can't get machinery back there, except a couple of years ago, so dry, we were able to mow it. And just from that first mowing, there was a whole section that didn't grow back at all. And it was interesting because I think our preschoolers, this is goats aren't the only thing that can get back invasives. Our preschoolers ended up playing in the area where it was mowed down. I think their disturbance actually kept a lot of the Phragmites from growing back. So you can put goats or preschool kids to remove invasives. And the one section right next to the boardwalk, and that is a picture of our boardwalk we just replaced. It has grown back right next to it, but it's not nearly as thick. So again, just chipping away and trying to get a hold of those invasives is going to be a major goal of our plan. Just looking ahead, we're strategic planning for the next 5 years. Our strategic plan ended in 2020. We didn't want to start it again until we were sort of looking at the end of the pandemic. And just as far as the park goes, we have the buildings, then we have the grounds. And so we have our land management plan, which we think is great, and we're going to work hard to implement that. And then the buildings is just working with town to have long-term goals for, what our use of the building and whether that, really clicks with what the town wants and then moving forward. So the last bullet just is really why we're here, and we're just here to connect people to the natural world. And we believe that after you establish that connection, you'll grow a love and then they'll protect it. So that's what we're here for. That is my very quick version of what's been happening in the last 2 years. I'm happy to answer any questions for COVID or what's been going on.
Are there any questions for Bill? Hank?
Bill, how large do you expect the environmental education program to become?
So the last time it was, instead of 1%, it was more in a 10 to 15% of our budget, was when we had a grant from the state at $127,000 annually. And that involved New Canaan schools. It's called the Links program. If you have kids that went through before 5 years ago, if they went to any of the public schools for 27 years, they participated in this. And that was the last time it was a major presence in our budget. That went from $127,000 to zero, just from a state grant that we've been trying to piece back together with private family foundations. And we made some headway. I just don't think it'll ever be, 10, 15% as far as the budget goes. But as far as the mission, why we're here, it's at the top. It doesn't make a ton of money. If we take a couple owls into a school program, we charge a couple $100, but that's not going to move the needle on major budget gains. But if we can get 20, 30, 40, 50,000 from a family foundation to these big programs, then it can grow more. And we've been trying to do that ever since we lost it 5 years ago.
Thank you, Bill.
Sure.
Carl, you had a question?
Yeah, first a quick comment. It is very noticeable how the aesthetics of the park have improved in the last couple of years. It looks fantastic. So I want to thank you very much for that. I noticed the one thing that's going through is a path. The path to Owen Oak, it looks like that's being redone at the moment, and that helps with the green link. So that looks great. My question is on the side of the former greenhouse that was demolished. Are there plans for that?
There's three, that would be the third garden that's in that area. So there's our herb garden, which, we've had volunteers have been in there for 25 years maintaining that, and it's a beautiful garden. Next, that's our community garden. And so we're really working with them of, would the herb garden want to expand? Would the community garden want to take on more? And we just haven't gotten there yet as far as a final plan, but we always plan to do some sort of expansion of those gardens up there, especially since the other three greenhouses that went down, we have open air gardens now. So it made a lot of sense that the last one would turn into something similar to go along with really the Susan Dwight Bliss honoring what she used that space for. It just makes a lot of sense to us.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Well, Bill, thank you for that excellent presentation. And now you're on next for the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
Oh, thanks. And just as an offer, anytime anyone wants a tour, I'm just come by. I'll walk anyone through. it gets me out of the office and I can show everyone what we're doing. So please take me up on that. It's what I enjoy more than budget work. So please let me know. I know we have some of the scouts here, leaders available. Just background how this started. Sean Gelston, who I do see is on the call, reached out, and the scouts need a charter organization basically as a home base. So a lot of time it's churches or schools. It really can be anybody. We had a conversation and the Nature Center was interested. We thought, if you go around the Nature Center property, there's Eagle Scout projects everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of Scouts connection with the Nature Center. And we support, and what they do and connecting them with the natural world and being great stewards. The question I threw out to Kevin Moynihan, I think Tiger also, I put you on the email, just as if we're going to go into an agreement with the Scouts, we are a town-owned property. Just wanted to make sure that town was on board or they're aware. And so Kevin pointed me, and then he put you, George, on an email saying, why don't you talk to the Parks and Rec Commission? So beyond that, I don't know the proper channels. All I know is that we were asked to come and answer any questions, and the Scout leaders who are on the call can answer any of those details better than I can.
I just have one question. Is there any cost to the town for the Nature Center being the home base, or is that completely at the Boy Scouts on their nickel?
Hi, George. I can answer that. It's
Chris.
Chris. I'm the committee chairman for Troop 31. There is no cost at all to the town for this. It's completely supported by our dues that we pay, our members pay to National and the Boy Scout Association.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from any of the commission members?
Are there,
Jack?
Jack Hawkins here. Are there any other positions that are currently being thought of, or just the Nature Center? Sorry, you already answered this.
We currently have a chartered org of the United Methodist Church in town. But our thought is to move to the Nature Center just because it has so many great outdoor opportunities, and we are an outdoor program. So it's a really good fit for our troop and our pack. So we're thinking about the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts would be moving chartered orgs to the New Canaan Nature Center.
Well, right now there's two, right?
There's actually 3 chartered orgs in town. We have St. A's, St. Mark's, and United Methodist Church.
Okay, so it's just moving one of those from the Methodist.
We're just moving from the Methodist Church to the Nature Center.
I got you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I think it's a great, as you said, Chris, outdoor activity with these young men it would be phenomenal. And it would help the Nature Center in different projects and help them achieve their goals as well. So, are there any other questions from commission members before we go to a vote? Okay, can we have a motion then to approve the Nature Center is a host for the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts? Gene, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion,
I'll second that.
second, thank you. All those in favor, raise the right hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Chris and Bill and all the Scout leaders, congratulations. I think this is going to be a wonderful fit.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, Ed, thank you so much for waiting patiently, is our summer
George?
theater pro. Yeah.
George, quick question. Can I have who made the motion and who seconded it?
Gene made the motion, Jack seconded.
Thank you.
No problem. Summer theater, Ed, you're on. Thank you.
Hi, well, I'm happy to come back to the Park and Rec and request the use of Waveney Park again. It would be our 15th year in Waveney to bring the summer theater, professional theater company with children's shows, adult shows, family shows, programs for special need children, middle school children, and high school students, as well as college interns. So we're a pretty robust program, and we utilize the park in that 4 to 5 week or a period where we have actually people there, and then maybe another few weeks prior setting up the tent. Last year went very well. John and his team did a great job, maintaining the park, and it just looked fabulous. It never looked so good as far as in the past, as far as us being there, and we were very happy. It worked out. The audiences were all out in the field, and weather permitting, we had a great time. Everyone enjoyed it.
Great. Just also the dates, if you can kind of clarify that, what you like to do there.
Sure. The shows, last year we ran for 3 weeks, basically 3.5 weeks. This year we're expanding it an additional week and a half. So we're going to start with our children's show. Traditionally, we do a 6 to 7 week program. Last year, to mitigate risk because of COVID and keep it very, condensed to see how, the public would respond, we had a very abridged season. This year, we're opening it up just a little bit more. We plan to start with our children's shows the first weekend in July 1st, 2nd, and or 2nd and 3rd, and then open up our season, our main show, the following week. Now, I understand there's 4th of July is on the 2nd and or rain date on the 3rd, which doesn't really interfere with us because we're in the morning on those days. And we worked with it last year, the same schedule when we worked with Steve and John to work out, what can and can't happen at that point, making sure that there was access for parking and there was no obstructions in any way. And we worked with that very well. Unfortunately, it rained and we never had a season. I never had a 4th of July fireworks. This year, I understand it's the 2nd with a rain date on the 3rd, and then as an outside rain date on possibly the 9th. Now, that weekend, the 9th, is when we open our main season. So my suggestion or my thought is that we will not have a show that night, obviously, if there's a rain date for the fireworks. Assuming the fireworks go on the 2nd or the 3rd, we would then have a performance that evening. The season would run through the 31st. All shows would stop at that point. We would take the next 4 or 5 days to strike the tent, the venue, everything, and like we did last year. And then, John, I think the site pretty much went back to kind of healed well. I think I'm not sure if you put grass seed down there, but it seemed to come back quite well after our use there.
Yeah, we overseeded the whole area. So there is a problem as far as the dates are concerned. The 2nd and the 3rd will not work with the fireworks, even in the morning, because we have to close down the park. We can't have people coming in and out the same way. So to get the morning shows in there, you didn't start that early last year. So
no, we started the
my suggestion would be, if the fireworks go off on the 2nd or 3rd, give us time to clean up the park and everything else, make sure everything's good. And Wednesday the 6th, because being the holiday being Monday the 4th, Wednesday the 6th would be a good day to start, unless the fireworks have to be pushed to the 9th, and then it would be it'd be pressing, but then I'd suggest on the 10th for the starting date. It's not, I'm not saying set up, you still can set up, but not to have any shows until after the fireworks.
We would like to have understanding that, you have a schedule and things are happening, but on that Thursday and Friday, that's when we plan to open our first shows, the 8th and the 9th. If there's no fireworks at that point, and if we don't have a show on the 10th, I'm curious as to what the issue would be, not having it that Thursday and Friday. Because what's happening is it's abridging our season to a point where it might not work.
It's getting back to the season that you had last year, that's all. You didn't start until after the 10th. I think it was even the 16th. I don't have it right in front of me.
No, it was that weekend. It was the 10th.
So Jack, just to be clear, if the fireworks go off on the 2nd or 3rd without a hitch, Ed could conceivably start the show the 8th or the 9th. That won't be a problem. What happens if it gets pushed to the 9th, that's where the problem. Nobody obviously can forecast the weather at this point. And what happened with the 4th of July committee last year, as you guys know, the dates got postponed, and then eventually canceled. And it was a pain in the neck for everybody. So the 4th of July committee sat down this year and said, we're going to figure out the first date, the alternative date, and a backup date. And if it doesn't happen on the 9th, okay, if we get rained out, it won't happen this year, okay? So there won't be, we were not going to push this into late August, September, okay? So it's either going to be the 2nd, the 3rd, or the 9th, or nothing, okay? Just want everybody to be clear on that.
When we had the last year, when it was scheduled for the for that Friday or Saturday, when you lost the or Saturday, Sunday, when you lost the 2 days due to rain, we had rehearsals that day. We had programming that day. We had people coming, using the park, et cetera. There was no issue because we're out of it by, noon, basically. I'm just curious, John, as to what the concern would be continuing that.
As far as rehearsals early in the morning, I can see that, but you were talking about actually having children's shows then. Last year, what you presented to the commission, you didn't start till July 10th.
Right. That was a Friday when we started last year. This year, we're looking to start earlier. And
I think it's I think it's too much for the park.
Yeah.
Too much, everything going on to do everything right. It's just too much.
Yep. Ed, can you start on the 6th, the Wednesday, the 6th, if the fireworks go off on the 2nd or 3rd without issue? Can you work with that? And if for some reason we got to push it to the 9th, then we got to go to plan B, okay? But for the purposes of just this meeting, can you live with starting the 6th? I think it's
yes, it's that's not a problem. We generally don't start midweek we're starting with the children's shows, but yes, in this case we would start with everything that at that point, which would be that 7th, 8th, and 9th and 10th,
Okay,
that week there. Now, if there is a show, I mean, if there's a fireworks on the 9th, we would not have a show that evening. I mean, obviously. But if there isn't fireworks, if they, like you said, if they do happen on the 2nd or 3rd, it should not be an issue. Correct, John?
If they happen on the 2nd or 3rd, starting either the 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th is fine. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So essentially, what we're looking at is pushing back that week with the contingency of not having a show on the rain date, potential rain date, should you not have a show that weekend before. Okay.
okay.
All right.
If,
We could
if
do.
everybody can live with that, are there any questions or comments from commission members?
George?
Carl?
Is there any
Oh, I'm sorry.
conflicts with the Athletic Foundation use of the fields? This isn't an area they use?
They're not in the same area. This is
Okay.
over towards the paddle courts.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay.
If I may ask one question, if indeed we do push our season back a week, I may want to, our schedule is normally Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, weather permitting. I might consider a Wednesday performance. And the reason for that, it's also economical costs of, of running the program, et cetera, to possibly have another date. I propose Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is what we traditionally do. But if that's possible, we might want to add that day or possibly add a few days the following week. So I have to think this through a little bit in that sense. But if it's all right with the commission, starting, if we don't have anything on that first weekend of the 4th of July weekend, we understand that, we accept that. We'll just have rehearsals or whatever we normally would do. And then we would run our program as we have in the past with the possibility of adding a Wednesday or possibly adding the following weekend. But I do think we'll probably end on the 31st because that seems to have been historically the best time for us to end our season.
Okay.
George?
Bill? Yeah.
George, we have our Waveney concerts on Wednesday nights.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
We've,
Good
if I
point.
might, yeah, if I might add, there have been, there was one night last season, when I guess it was a rain date. I think it was a rain date, and we had a performance and a show that night at the same time. We had something going on, with public, and it seemed to go fine. There was no, I mean, there was no distraction between the concert behind the Waveney House nor the music from our musical. They did not seem to compete in any way, and it worked fine. But I do appreciate the fact that it's Wednesday is not an ideal night for any of us, that if there's two shows going on that night. So.
Right. Steve, did you have something? Steve Dayton?
Yeah, just even that Thursday, your sound system was fairly loud and you could hear it over at the concert too. Nobody
you
really
could?
complained, but you could hear the concert, and your performance did kind of butt heads a little bit. So
On a
something to
Thursday night?
consider.
Was that a
Yes,
Thursday
on that
night?
Thursday, that rain date on a Thursday.
Okay, oh, it was a Thursday rain date. Okay, so there
Yeah.
was some confusion. Did it compete? Did you find that it was not?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, so we'll leave Wednesday off.
All right, so just to move the ball down the field, if there was a motion made to commence the summer theater program on the 6th of July, obviously understanding there's got to be a lot of flexibility on your part, Ed, and the town's part in terms of, working cooperatively together. If you had the motion to approve that now, would that be satisfactory?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
George, yes. Yes, if we can start that following week and have our Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday performances as we've discussed, and possibly extending maybe 1 week. And I would get back to you on that. Yes, that would work.
Okay. Any issues, Bill, from yourself or Steve or John or Tiger? Any issues with that?
I've got.
Yeah.
George, I've got two issues. I want to first, I want to back up to say the day of the fireworks. Should we have the fireworks planned? It is not a good idea that they're running rehearsals in the park on that morning. We closed the park to the public at 6:30 in the morning, and I don't think it would work for us to have a rehearsal on the morning of the fireworks, regardless of what day it is.
I agree with Bill.
Okay.
If I might add, we've done this in the past, and there did not appear to be any issue at all, because we're in there in the morning. It's a limited number of people. It's just the staff, okay, and the cast. That's basically it.
Unfortunately, you're in a different section of the park than you used to be.
No, I'm
So
talking about
you-
last year.
Well,
Yeah,
Last year, there was no fireworks. They were canceled.
right.
With the day the fireworks go on, there should not be any rehearsals or any access for your people, the same as everybody else. We closed the park down so we can get everything done and get it prepared for the fireworks. It's one day.
Right, but but we don't know which day. Right. That's
Well, at this point, we do. The original date is Saturday, July 2nd. Okay.
Right.
So you wouldn't be able to rehearse that day, and then hopefully you're good to go on the 3rd and then on. If for some reason it's postponed from the 2nd to the 3rd, you'll know that, hopefully you'll know that by that Friday or so. We're all trying to predict the weather, which we can't do. So it's just basically the day of the fireworks. Hopefully it'll be Saturday the 2nd. Okay. Fingers crossed. That will be the only day that your group and others wouldn't have access.
You make a good point, George. If we have 24 hours notice and we can have one or the other day, then that's fine. That makes sense. I can go with that. We can work around that.
Okay.
Hey,
Bill and John, is that acceptable?
Yes, that's good. I got one more question. Is going to the starting date, and that is the date of the 10th. I see in the recent letter here that he's asking, Ed, you're looking for a setup just prior to or following Memorial Day weekend. Last year, we did it around the June 14th or 16th. We have events on the field that would be impacted with that tent going up earlier than the 15th or the 16th of June.
In the small section that we use?
Yes, we have programs that take place in that lower field, yes.
Is that the soccer or the, I'm just curious, what is it that's going on?
It's soccer.
Soccer, okay. And how late does that go?
We're done by, I would say the 11th is the last week that we have activities. Most of the programs end around the 11th. So the going up the week of the 12th is fine.
I'm just looking at a calendar here 1 second to see what that is.
Just keeping with last year's schedule, which worked out.
No,
fine.
I understand. Last year was a very, again, it was a very condensed, abridged season. That would be a little bit of a challenge for us. Well, now that we're moving the season back essentially 1 week, based on the 4th of July, if we can have that, so we can go in the week of the 11th, is that what you're saying?
The week of the 12th is Sunday, yes. That week there, it's pretty much clear of all the activities. We're all done by then.
Okay, so we can go in June. So we can go in like, are you on that Saturday or that Sunday or Friday?
We're on Saturday. We're on Saturday. Yeah, we're on Saturday the 11th, and that should be the last day.
All right. Can the tent be put up with no one using it, or it just can't go up at all? Because the tent has its own footprint. It's not like we're actively there. That's why I'm asking. Is they'll put the tent up and it just sits there for a couple of days. It's just a question of weather. How many days? We usually have to put like a 4-day window for weather, because if it's wet, we don't want to drive our trucks, or the truck on the field. Otherwise, it's fine. So we need a little flexibility there.
First day on the 12th and then go from there. Sunday the 12th, and we just want to know when you're going to put up your tent. We want to be on site this year.
Sure, it would be, it would be weather permitting.
I don't understand, but
Yeah.
you know the day that it's coming, and we need you to make the phone call so that we know. I
Okay,
want to have myself or somebody else there.
all right, let's work it on the 12th.
Okay, so can we have a motion to approve the Summer Theater of New Canaan to commence on July 12th and run, let's say, through the first week of August? Would that be fair, Ed?
Yes, that would be great. And then,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, Jack, thank you. Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
All right, thanks, Hank. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Ed, thank you very much. And we wish you the best luck with this season.
Thank you. I hope to see you all there.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we will go on to the rec director's reports and presentation of their budget.
Yeah, thank you very much. As everybody knows, it's been a very challenging time. I have to say, the rec staff has been very helpful with getting me up to speed on anything and everything. We're moving along. There's very simply, spring sports startup has started. People are registering. Recreation is back. People want to do events and everything else. We found an office for the new executive director of the Conservancy, which she'll be moving in hopefully a month. And things are moving forward. With that, Bill is going to give a brief presentation about some of the rec programs that will start us off on the budget, and then I'll be glad to go through all the budget items and we'll go from there.
Okay, thanks, John. You got that PowerPoint?
Just a sec.
So, Commission, the word is up for this year. We're very excited. Our new Canaanites gathered at our parks and facilities and programs last summer and through the spring and fall. And our offerings gave the residents that release they needed and that social interaction that they desired. But never should recreation be viewed as a luxury, but rather a necessity. We played a major role during the pandemic and will meet the demand going forward this year. We put together a budget, which I think is very light and just addressing some very important issues. I'll go over those with you right now to try and do it as brief as possible. So next slide. Right now we have a transition really in trends where we have people in New Canaan have basically rediscovered recreation and leisure. They rediscovered our parks, our beautiful outdoor parks and activities. Not only that, but food trucks have become an alternative to indoor restaurants, which is interesting. Our senior citizens are now coming back to the Lapham Center. It's great. Racket sports are booming. Tennis, paddle tennis, pickleball. Working from home and even childcare are all major trends we see now. Some of our, next slide. Some of our important comparisons here of our core programs is that youth and adult tennis is up 144%. They came running to the tennis courts this year.
Yep.
Youth soccer is up 50%. I can't tell you how happy I am with that. Youth day camps were up 53%, swim lessons up 50%, and our after school enrichment classes are making a great comeback after being stopped for 2 years due to COVID. Right now, I'm throwing up a screen here about the tennis. You have past sales on the left and our instruction attendance on the right. It's booming. Tennis is on a boom. And that had a lot to do with us getting those courts open early too by March 1st. Thank you, John and Tiger. And that was a great thing to do. But look at the sales and look at our usage. It's going crazy. You can flip the next screen and you can see what's going on over at the pool. Our past sales are up and our attendance is bouncing back after COVID. But everything, in my opinion, is doing great. It's working great and moving forward terrifically. I think that only brings us now down to the budget. And I will brief this with you. As you can see, basically there what we put together. And I have a comment column there mentioning that for administration and programs, that's our major bump that we're asking for here in the budget. We're asking for actually an extra $160,000 over last year. And that is for three main reasons. And this again is in the administration line item there. One is that we left too many people on waiting lists. And this year we want to be able to have enough money to offer additional classes and not turn anybody away. Two is that we want to have the flexibility to offer new programs. And one in particular is that terrific pickleball program, which is now the fastest growing sport in America, giving us some flexibility that if something new came along, we could afford to offer it. And three, finding due to the pandemic scare, we have a shrinking pool of teachers. So we have to turn to independent contractors and the hiring of these established businesses that provide us the services that we want. This account is where we expense these services. And that's what the bump of $160,000 is. And that's the largest of all what we're asking for this budget season. Waveney House is pretty much simple. It's salaries, it's Social Security. I think it's just the rentals are back. The rentals are coming back, so we need to put money in there for our staff and overtime. Look at, and by the way, stop me if you have a question. Paddle tennis moving up. Again, we want to do some court repairs. There's monies put in there for the additional screens and resurfacing one court. We bought some heaters, and again, the salaries due to the minimum wage bump are just an additional up. Park buildings, it's largely due to an increase in the refuse service, electricity and fuel and oil. And then the Lapham Center, it's up. Hey, classes are returning. The teachers are coming back. It's a big bump for us in Social Security contributions. So that's all that the budget is really pushing forward. We have a general total here of across the 7 budget divisions of about an extra 216,000 plus with 10.8%. That's what we're proposing for this next fiscal year.
Right. And with that said, for expenditures, we were also able to increase our revenues. On the budget books that you received, that would be page 21, the page number of the page itself. And we stayed very conservative on the revenues. We think we'll be way up above that, but we wanted to stay in a conservative place. So I'll be glad to go through any and every one of the line items. But Steve Banco did a great job preparing this budget, and we just made a few little tweaks. We're probably going to try to make a couple changes to the pool budget, just for a little bit more maintenance as far as cleaning both the locker rooms and the pool itself, which we don't have final numbers today, but by next Thursday, the recreation budget goes in front of the Board of Finance. So, George, would you like me to go through each section of the recreation budget, or what would you like?
Any questions from commission members? Outstanding.
I have a
job.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry, did we get? Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, sure. The number for the bump we had for expenses included paddle tennis, right? Was that for the ability to add more classes? I know there was a lot of disappointments that there were no spring classes for paddle tennis this year. Does that allow us to do that?
Well, this spring is a little bit difficult. This budget doesn't take effect until July.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But what it will do is next year it will do it. We think by adding $160,000 roughly to that number, there won't be one program that we can't offer because of money. You know, it doesn't mean that if 2 people sign up for something, it doesn't need to be canceled, but because we will have the money to offer the programs.
Right.
Okay. Francesca?
You, Bill, spoke about the heaters for the paddle tennis courts. I think I heard you mention that they are included in the budget that you have. Is that true? Because the heaters are not working properly, and you said something about new heaters coming. Is that true?
Steve Dayton answered this one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Francesca Mitchell was out there last week. The heaters are all working.
On all of the courts, great.
All the
And
courts,
then
yes.
we need to address the ability to cancel courts on the day of. How can we go about that without having to wait for a paddle hut person to be there and call them directly?
Francesca, we're going to look into how we're going to take care of that, but I don't think we don't. I know, as far as I'm concerned, we don't have a plan tonight to figure out how to do that.
Okay, but we
Francesca?
know it is a priority, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to talk to you offline. Maybe when the paddle season is over, we can sit down with a bunch of women and men and see what needs to be addressed. So we can do that.
So am I hearing you say that we can't address it this year?
We can, but I have heard differing sides. That's why I haven't changed anything. Some say leave it, some say change it. But I think, I mean, if you want to get a group of 10 people together, we can all sit and discuss it. I don't think we need to do it tonight.
Okay, I'll talk to you within the week.
Yeah, that'd be great if you guys can connect offline on that topic. That'd be terrific. And come back with some feedback. Keith?
I got 2 things. One is I can't tell you how wonderful it was that we had the tennis courts open early in the season this year. So for one, I hope you have put whatever financial incentive that you had last year in this year's budget.
That again, as the same as last year, we didn't have the money to do it. We took from other things to be able to do that. Next year, there is money in there, and we even added, when I go through the parks budget, we even added money for a summer tune-up of the course where they'd scrape off some dead material, reattach the lines, things like that.
Okay.
So that we'd be able to definitely do.
You have no idea what a wonderful thing that is to so many of us who use those courts. The second thing for people who use those courts, and I'm not one of these, but there are people who like to have a real dedicated tennis backboard where they can hit their tennis ball against a concrete wall and have walls on either side. And you've got sort of a thing there where you've got sort of a wall you can hit against, but it can go right into the paddle courts and all over the place. It is just doesn't do it. We need to have a dedicated backboard for people who want to practice their tennis shots. So what about that? Is that in the budget? Is that possible? Do we have room?
We can look at it. I don't want to offer something that I can't promise. We put the backboard back in the same location when we built the
If it doesn't have
court.
sidewalls, I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and say, oh, I want to have a backboard. You know, it's nice having the paddle and the pickle because
Maybe
but I mean, they really want to have that tennis backboard.
Maybe we can work something out with a temporary net or something like that, but I can't.
Yeah,
offer
no
you a definite-
temporary, concrete block walls. I mean, like you had, even if we end up losing one of our pickle courts, I would say do it. But I don't mean to take everyone's time, but I can't tell you, since I got on this commission, I have people who come up to me and say, what happened to the backboard for tennis?
Right. Certainly, if that could be looked into, that would be terrific. Thank you, John and Bill, for the excellent presentation in terms of the budget. Obviously, as you saw the front page of the Advertiser this last week, the Board of Selectmen are asking for about $10 million more to offset a lot of inflation. And obviously, this budget reflects that, and I'm glad that we're prepared for that too. So we thank you for that. Do we need to motion to approve this? Should we do that, or is it?
Oh, you don't have to.
No. Okay, all right. But again, our Hank, you had a question?
Yeah, just another question. The increase in the budget for Kiwanis Park appears to be minimal. I know Steve Dayton did an incredible job last year expanding the programming for Kiwanis Park. And it seems to me to be doing, it's going to be even become greater this year. And I'm just asking if that, Steve, do we need more money in the budget for Kiwanis Park?
Hank, I was trying to go about it without getting any more money because they don't seem to give Kiwanis more. But I was going to go, back to the newcomers and, like I told you, the library and see what new programming we can get there, and possibly, the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and see what we can get going. So I don't think we'll be able to get any more money for that.
Will the Y still be having its programs there?
Yes.
Those are big success.
Okay. Are there any other, Francesca?
I'm sorry, back to tennis. We didn't touch on lights. Are they part of the budget?
When we get into the Parks Department, I'll be going through and show you them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on to the parks budget? Okay, and before, John, you start the parks.
Hold
budget,
on, real quick. What was the revenue pickup for those extra programs? So $168,000 increase in expenses.
Well, with two things, we netted out at 102,000 for revenue, but with that, because of the summer camps, having less kids in the summer camps due to COVID, which we don't foresee going up this year to the numbers, we had to go down about 22,000 and the revenue there.
So we're saying $22,000 additional revenue, 168 additional expense.
No,
Just making sure I'm clear
No.
on.
no, basically $125,000
Okay, all right,
additional
good to go,
revenue.
good to go,
But,
good to go.
but not really, only because we had to lower it down 22,000.
Yep.
Any program we add should be positive revenue for us.
Oh.
That's what, yeah.
All right, that's what I wanted to get to. Okay, all right, good. All right, then no problem with the expenses as long as they, bring in a profit. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, and any other question regarding the budget? Okay, we'll move on to parks and John?
Okay. Before we get into the budget, just a few little notes for the Parks Department. As of today, we've had 17 days of skating this year. Most people most people don't remember the last time we were able to have skating was 17-18 season. So with that, it's one of our longest years of skating we've had in the 24 winters I've been here. So that's been very good, and people have been using it a lot. We've also been able to go yesterday and today, due to the lack of snow, we've been able to do some more work in the disc golf course. And then, of course, we still have snow. So we've been dealing with snow and working on equipment. And we're going to start doing our bench maintenance where we bring them in, pressure wash them and treat them and things like that. But we're doing well that way. Now, as far as our Parks Department budgets, we did have a few increases. I can go through all the line items if you want to, but mainly we've taken the part-time person and we're proposing to add him to full-time. The part-time was a big help, but having a full-time guy year-round will really help us, the extra time there. We're keeping the gardener in our budgets, so that helps out a lot. But other than that, most of our expense in parks is due to the cost of living, what supplies, what they've done, and anything from the utilities right to purchasing products. Our seed budget, has gone up 40%, and we don't see any drop in that. Fertilizers up at least 17%. So it's things like that is where we had to put increases in our operating budget. So, and then the more fun stuff I'd like to talk about is the park infrastructure budget. This is where we get to actually do things. So I won't go through every single thing.
John, what document is that? Can you share that with us?
Oh, that should be page 39.
Page 39.
In the papers that went out, that be sent out. And 39 is the page number on the piece of paper itself, because this was all came out of the town complete budget.
Well, I got something that goes to page 30.
It's our last page, I believe.
Yes, it should be your last page.
It's on
Okay,
page
so
11.
that's 39. Okay, gotcha.
I can show it on the screen, but I think it'll be too small for you to
I got
actually
it.
see.
It says Town of New Canaan Summary of 5-Year Capital Program. Is that one?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so on the top part is the infrastructure. And not going through every item, but we decided that it was important to rebuild the clay tennis courts. This comes into the same thing as far as there's more tennis use. The one thing we haven't worked out is when we'd exactly be doing that work. Do we get to the point where we try to do it late fall? It's really tough to do earth move in late fall and stuff like that, but we need the money before we can do anything. We left the playground up at Waveney in the budget. So that's there. At Dunning Stadium, the Dunning Stadium lights are in need for replacement. So we've added $450,000 for there. We've gone through and had all our bleachers all over town inspected. And by doing that, we have found out we have about $125,000 worth of work repairing bleachers. Some of them actually need to be replaced, but it's important work to do. There's some money in there for Bristow Bird Sanctuary. And then Francesca, there's $55,000 that Steve had put in the budget, and they moved it all into this parks infrastructure budget for replacing the lights on courts 7 and 8.
Is that going to be enough?
We have a quote from Musco Lighting, who does proper lighting for things like tennis courts. They also do it for athletic fields, tracks, etc. So coming off that quote, yes.
Okay.
Our biggest fear right now is on anything with budget numbers is where the price is going to be in 6 months when we're able to start tying down the work. So
I understand. Thanks,
Yep.
John.
Yeah. So other than that, there is some money in there for like the Athletic Foundation and the Waveney Park Conservancy and things like that. Do you have any questions on any of the things that are there?
Keith?
Yeah, just one item, stray item, light detection system.
That's a lightning detection system. That's not in for this year. Lightning detection. We have one now, and you might have heard it go off down at Mead Park. What happens with it is when lightning gets within 20 miles, it detects it. But when it's within 5 miles, it actually sounds a horn, and it will keep flashing a light for a half hour till after the last lightning strike. It's a way to get people off the fields and be safe.
Yeah. Like at a golf course.
Exact same setup. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I just didn't know what it was. Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
I have a question.
Sure, Fred.
Is there something in here for cameras in the parks?
Not in the parks infrastructure budget. Tiger?
Where would it belong?
Are you talking for, so we have 2 separate things for cameras, just to be brief. We have monies in the administration and engineering budget for cameras in and around our parks and our buildings. And then the police department are putting in a separate request for cameras that they might need for what their operations would entail, what they would need for either crime prevention or crime solving. So Leon would have something in the police budget as well.
I'm talking about Waveney Park, which is sort of our jurisdiction, and around the paddle courts where cars have been broken into a lot recently.
Right, that's what I said. So the police department has a proposal at present to come forward with a plan that'll be discussed at the Board of Finance level during their budget presentation in an executive session. So that's it.
Do you know when that takes place?
I'm sorry. I think that they're on the 17th.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me, but I believe it's the 17th.
Okay.
That'll be an executive session because that's a safety and security measure.
Okay.
It is the 17th.
Thanks.
Hank.
George, if this question is just too off point, just tell me to back off. But since John mentioned the Bristol Park, John, I wondered if you could just talk for 30 seconds about the oil spill and what that's going to mean to the pond there.
I'd really like to let Tiger take it. I'm sure he's more familiar than me going out and looking at a sheen of oil and not knowing what I'm doing.
So briefly, on Friday, we were notified of an oil spill or potential oil spill. So our inland wetlands department and our fire marshal responded along with the fire department. We contacted DEP. They came out as well. Our staff went back out on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and today to track it down and try to do some illicit detection. So we TV'd the drainage lines. We went through and started scouring all the properties. And today, thankfully, this morning, we were able to locate the leak, the source of the leak. It was an outdoor oil tank that was leaking. The resident didn't know it. Leaked into a footing drain. The footing drain led into the drainage that we have along Park Place, which led into Bristow. So the DEP is going through, and tomorrow they'll start an extensive cleanup of the property, and then everything heading downstream and into Bristow. Their feeling is that Bristow will recover. Might take a little time, but it will recover. And while it took a big hit, but it was a nice lesson for everyone to understand exactly what might happen to a natural area with just a little bit of a of a contaminant coming in. But our staff did a fantastic job. Our inland wetlands department, health department, fire marshal, fire department, our highway department, everyone did a great job. So it's got a better ending than what we were experiencing it for the past week or so.
Who pays
Thank you,
for the
Tiger.
cleanup?
Who
Is it
pays
the
for
guy who had the leak? Does he pay for the cleanup? Who pays for the cleanup?
That's to be determined, but that also the DEP gets involved in that, determines the extent of the cleanup, and then the responsible party or who should. At present, the cost to date have been borne by the town for TVing the lines and some of the absorbent booms and things of that nature. The DEP puts some out there as well, but it is the thought that it would go to the homeowner, but I don't have a definitive answer.
Jack?
Well, if there's anything else on this oil, I want to let others go first. Seeing nobody. John, back to the capital budget. So the total capital budget for infrastructure is what? Is that 2.3 million?
Yes, it is.
All right. Last year, what did we ask for? Do you know?
Give me just a second. Last year, 844,000.
Okay. I was wondering if we had a similar number last year and it got cut to the 800.
No,
which is roughly a third.
And of that 844,000, that doesn't include the stuff that Steve had put in for the rec department that was capital, which is now gone into the infrastructure budget, parks infrastructure. So
okay. All right. So last year we didn't put in something like $2 million and it got cut to a third.
No.
It's just this year it's 3 times as big.
Exactly.
I don't believe they only cut one thing out last year, Jack. That was the and they deferred it to this year, and that was the playground for $455,000. So they deferred that from last year. So our request at the time was somewhere on the order of 1.2, 1.3, and then that 455 got deferred to this year. But
okay. All right, so it did get cut a bit, but yeah. I'm just wondering if we submit or if we keep going down this trail with $2.3 million, are we going to end up with half of that or less? And if it's likely to get cut down to half, then right now when we got the commission present, we should be voicing up which of those expenses we as a commission really want to keep, and which ones we're like, hey, you know what? We know it's going to get cut in half. Cut these so we can keep these other ones. We don't know where it's going to end, or do you have a feeling, or what?
No, the majority of it, $2 million of it is bonded. The 217 is tax supported this year.
Yeah.
But of that 217 tax supported, I believe that there's 100 that was carried over, approximately 100 carried over from the recreation. So you can't really look at it as 217 for parks. It's more like 100 and 100. Last year we got $222,000 for the parks alone in tax supported capital underneath the infrastructure side. So it's difficult to determine what they might say. They want to see not funded, but the majority of it is either
being bonded.
The majority of it are projects that they've supported in the past. The only two ones that we have out there that are new, I would say, are the playground and the lights at Dunning, but the lights at Dunning are 23 years old. They're they were the original, and they need to be replaced. And then the playground got the 30 years. So hard to say, to be honest.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think then we should just leave it and see how it sells, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Carl?
sort of an anomaly, you know. The our subsequent years are less, 1,300, 900, 900, you know. So this is a little bit of an anomaly.
It is, but like you're saying, it helps that, you know, it's bonded. That helps, you know.
Right, a little bit, yeah.
Carl, did you have a question?
Yeah, just on, there's a new line here for the disc golf course. Is that to fund the improvements that you've been working on, John?
Yes, it's going to be used to build some tee boxes, some proper tee boxes where we can have a nice material on top of them. And some drainage. There's a lot of wetlands in there, so there's a lot of drainage that we can't do whatever we might want to do, but we could use it for, you know, if we needed to rebuild a bridge and things like that. So
okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Great. Okay, any other questions for John or Tiger regarding the parks budget? Well, John, I want to personally thank you very much for stepping up with both Park and Rec and sort of shepherding both budgets through the process and to your team. But you've been doing yeoman's duty and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on and listen to the questions to the chairperson's report, which is me. I'll keep this to about 2 or 3 hours. No, I'm just kidding. I've got just 3 things. First, the March meeting, I would like to move back to in person at Town Hall, if at all possible. So I'll be in touch about that if everybody is okay with that. Secondly, question for my fellow commission members. Any issues if we move the time of this meeting, not necessarily the date, the time of this meeting, from 7:30 to 6:30 p.m.? The reason behind that is to our dedicated town employees so they can kind of get home and, you know, at a reasonable hour. Obviously, the nature of commuting has changed. Is there any issues if we move that up an hour?
Yeah, what am I going to do about dinner? Are you going to bring pizza, George?
No.
I
Bring
propose
pizza.
maybe 7
I'm up
o'clock.
for it.
I propose 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Gene, what's your feedback?
I say I eat dinner after the meeting, so I love 6:30.
Okay. Well, let me just show of hands. Who would like 6:30? 1, 2. Who would like 7 o'clock?
I'll just stay out.
What's that? So looks like 7 o'clock wins it. Okay. But in fact, you know, I don't want to force you.
How about 7:30? 7:30.
Yeah, run it at 7:32, say, but
What's that?
we'll see if we have anybody for 7:30, but
Is there anybody for 7:30? Sorry. 1, Keith. Just you. All right. By consent, if we can move this to 7 o'clock, I think that would be a little bit easier on some folks in their schedules, and particularly for people like John and Tiger and B who've worked long days and have got early starts to the day. I think it'd be great. Is everybody kind of in agreement with that?
Yes.
Keith, I'll buy you a drink next time I see you.
Yeah. I can
Okay.
live with it. You know, it's going to be hard to get dinner before the meeting.
Okay. Well, it's only, you know, 1 night a month that we ask. So, all right. So 7 o'clock will be the last thing. As everybody knows, Steve Benko is gravely ill, and our hearts and prayers go out to he and his family at this time. Obviously, it's a very tough time for him and for all of us. Thank you all for offering the level of support you have. And obviously, we're just going to have to, it's kind of a day by day at this point. Okay. And as more information becomes available, we'll certainly share that. again, big thanks to John for stepping up and taking on both responsibilities right at this time. So again, as more information is available, we'll get that out to you. So, is there any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Francesca. Seconded by Jack. Guys, have a good evening and a good weekend, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks.
Thanks, George.
To Steve
Bye,
and his
everyone.
family.
Bye-bye.